From the story, "They are all afraid of me, but you call me beautiful human." The sky above Vyros the Four was always dark. Clouds of ash floated in the air, left behind by the old war that had ended 100 years ago. There were no birds, no trees, no signs of life, only ruins of a once great alien city. And deep inside that city, something was still alive. They called it the Monster of Vyros. No one knew exactly what it looked like. Scouts sent into the ruins never came back. Some said it was a ghost, others said it was a machine. Everyone agreed on one thing. Whatever it was dangerous. But Captain Elias Monroe was not like everyone else. He had been many things in his life: soldier, pilot, explorer. After so many years in space, he had seen wonders and horrors alike. Now in his 40s, Elias was tired of war. He didn't want to fight anymore. When the United Earth Alliance asked him to visit Vyros 4, he agreed, but on one condition: he would go alone and unarmed. They thought he was crazy. Some said he had a death wish, but Elias believed in something others had forgotten, that even monsters might be lonely. He landed his small shuttle just outside the ruins and stepped out, wearing only a simple suit and a data pack on his back. The wind howled through the broken buildings. The air was thick with dust. Every step he took echoed loudly in the silence. Elias walked for hours, deeper into the ancient city. Strange alien symbols glowed faintly on the walls. Broken statues stood like silent watchers. It felt like walking through the memories of a forgotten world. Then he found her. She stood in the center of a great hall, where the roof had long since collapsed. She was tall, much taller than any human. Her body looked half organic, half metal, like a living statue made from silver and shadow. Her skin shimmered in the dark like moonlight on water. Her eyes glowed faintly, gold but empty, like the eyes of someone who had seen too much. She did not speak. She only watched him. Elias stopped a few feet away. His heart was beating fast, but he didn't raise his hands, didn't move to run. "Hello?" he said simply. His voice echoed across the broken hall. The alien woman tilted her head slightly. Her expression was unreadable. "I'm not here to fight," Elias said. "I came to meet you." She blinked slowly, and for a long time there was silence. Then her voice echoed in his mind, not spoken aloud, but placed gently in his thoughts. "Why do you not fear me?" Her voice was strange, deep and clear, yet soft like a breeze. Elias shrugged lightly. "I don't know. Maybe because fear is what everyone else brought. I wanted to bring something different." The alien woman stepped forward. Elias did not move. Her feet made no sound on the cracked floor. Up close, she was even more beautiful, and more terrifying. There was power in every part of her, like she could tear a mountain in half if she wanted. "You are a human," she said in his mind again. "Small, weak, curious. You speak softly, though I could end you with a single touch." "I know," Elias said calmly. "But you haven't. That means something." The alien woman paused. She looked at him for a long time, as if trying to see through him. "Thousands have come before you," she said. "Warriors, machines, spies. All feared me. All tried to destroy me or run from me. I have not spoken in 100 years. Elias gave a small smile. "Then I'm honored to be the first." There was a long silence between them. Then something changed. Her posture softened. The glow in her eyes dimmed slightly, not in anger, but in curiosity. "They are all afraid of me," she said slowly. Her voice, now a whisper in his thoughts, was almost sad. "But you call me beautiful, human?" Elias looked up at her, his voice quiet but steady. "Yes, because you are." The alien woman blinked again. For the first time in 100 years, she felt something strange. Not anger, not fear. Something soft, something warm. She stepped back and turned away, her voice a whisper carried by the wind. "Then perhaps you may walk beside me." And just like that, the monster of Vyros began to walk, not as a weapon but as something else entirely. The air beyond the ruined citadel was colder, but the alien woman, whom Elias still did not know how to name, seemed to sense safety for the first time in centuries. She walked beside him, her long silhouette cutting through the broken streets of Viros 4. Elias watched her closely. Every movement was graceful, yet weighted by a memory too heavy for any being to bear. He paused at the edge of a collapsed plaza. Half-buried statues of long-forgotten leaders lay in shattered heaps. Dust swirled around them like restless ghosts. Elias squared his shoulders and spoke. "I want to know your name," he said softly. She stopped and looked at him, the glow in her eyes reflecting the pale light. For a moment he thought she might refuse. Then very quietly she replied in his mind. "My name was lost to war." The words drifted through his thoughts, sad and distant. He took a step closer, careful not to crowd her space. "Thousands of languages in the galaxy," he said, "but a name is yours alone. Even if you lost it, we can find a new one." She hesitated. Dust fell from her shoulders like glittering ash. Finally, she spoke again. "Long ago, I served a people who made me to end their enemies. When the wars ended, they feared me. They gave me no name. They left me here." Elias nodded, imagining centuries of silence and loneliness. He looked up at her tall figure and felt a flicker of determination. "You deserve more than fear and abandonment," he said. "You deserve a name that speaks of who you are, not just what you were made to be." She studied him in silence. The wind carried faint echoes of her voice back to his mind. "Will you give me one?" she asked. Elias smiled and reached into his data pack. He pulled out a small device, an ancient translator, scratched and worn by years of use. He scanned her voice patterns and then offered his suggestion. "How about Kalara?" he said. "It means first light in a language I learned long ago, light after darkness." The glow in her eyes brightened, warm and gentle. For a moment, she did not answer. Then, in the hush of the ruined plaza, she said, "Kailara." The name felt right on her alien tongue, strong, hopeful, new. Elias spoke it again, softly. "Kailara," he said. "You are no longer just a weapon. You are a being with a name, a new beginning." She turned her face toward him. Elias sensed relief in her thoughts, like the first breath of someone waking from a nightmare. "Thank you, human," she whispered internally. Together, they left the plaza and began the walk toward the outer walls of the city. Elias led the way, and Kailara followed with quiet steps, her metal and organic form moving with surprising delicacy. As they moved, the sky above began to glow through a break in the clouds. Pale light spilled across the landscape, illuminating crumbling towers and rusted gates. Betrayal and abandonment had haunted these ruins, but in that new dawn, hope felt possible. Yet hope drew eyes. Far beyond the city walls, small scouting vessels drifted in the sky, sleek alien ships that belonged to the coalition of unified worlds. They had learned of the monster's awakening and came at once, determined to destroy the threat before it could spread. Reports called Kailara the living weapon, and Elias the traitor guide. Elias slowed his pace and turned sharply down a narrow alley, leading away from the main roads. He looked toward Kailara. "They'll find us soon," he said in a steady voice. "We need to move." She nodded, and with a gentle hum, opened a hidden door set into the side of a collapsed building. Beyond it lay a winding corridor, lit by faint bioluminescent fungus that grew on the walls. The corridor's curve prevented any sensors from tracking their exact location. Elias guided Kailara inside, and the door sealed shut behind them with a soft hiss. Inside, the air was still and cool. The fungus glowed in gentle blues and greens, painting Kailara's silver skin in shifting colors. Elias felt a moment of calm, as if they had stepped into another world. He offered her water from his pack and she accepted, her slender hand trembling slightly as she touched the canteen. "Drink," he said. "You must be thirsty." She took a slow sip, her eyes never leaving his face. When she handed the canteen back, Elias noticed a faint shimmer of moisture at the corner of her eye, something like a tear. "I have not eaten or drunk in a century," she whispered in his mind. None offered. Elias placed a hand over his heart. "Then it's an honor to be the first." They walked deeper into the tunnel, and Kaelara's steps grew steadier. Conversation flowed between them, simple at first. Questions about the stars, stories of human worlds, legends of the Coalition. With every word Kaelara learned, and with every answer, she felt less like a ghost and more like someone who could belong. Yet as they neared the exit on the far side of the ruins, the sound of alarm echoed in the corridor, dull thumps that shook the metal walls. Coalition drones had begun to sweep the tunnels, their sensors searching for Kaelara's unique signature. Elias paused. He placed his hand on Kaelara's arm. Even through her metallic skin, he felt a faint warmth of life. "We have to keep moving," he murmured. She nodded. Her eyes glowed with a determined light. No fear, only purpose. Together, they slipped out of the corridor and into the open remains of the city's outer gate. Above them, Coalition ships gathered in the smoky sky. But Elias and Kaelara were not alone. A small band of human explorers, Elias's old comrades, stepped from behind crates and broken walls, shields raised in defiance. Elias smiled at them, and then at Kaelara. For the first time since waking, she did not look away. Instead, she stood tall beside humanity. And in that moment, the galaxy's oldest fear met its first defender. Elias stood at the hatch of the battered scout ship, watching the ruins of Vyros, Fi shrink behind them. Beside him, Kaelara pressed her hand against the cool metal hull. She still felt the weight of every shattered wall and every lost soul. The ship's engines hummed softly, carrying them toward open space and toward danger. Outside, the viewport, human explorers from the United Earth Alliance readied their own small vessels in formation. They had come to protect Kaelara, to stand by Elias's side. Elias nodded to his old friend, Lieutenant Mara Lynn, who gave him a firm thumbs up. Then, with a gentle push on her shoulder, Elias guided Kaelara into the cockpit. As the pilot engaged the thrusters, Kaelara settled into the narrow seat. She touched the controls with delicate fingers as if she were learning to walk again. Sparks of bioluminescence flickered beneath her skin, an echo of her true power. Elias offered her a reassuring smile. "It's okay," he said quietly. "I believe in you." She turned to him, her golden eyes soft and curious. "You trust me?" she asked in his mind. He nodded. "You haven't hurt anyone since I met you. You saved us back there." Her gaze drifted to the stars ahead. "But they will come for me." "Then we'll face them together," Elias replied. "We'll show them you are more than a weapon." By the time they reached the edge of the planetary system, Coalition scouts already trailed them. Sleek alien ships cut through the blackness, weapons drawn. Their sensors blinked red as they locked on Kaelara's unique energy signature. Elias leaned forward. "Hold tight. We're going to make a run for it." The scout ship dropped out of standard flight and accelerated toward a narrow asteroid field. Human fighters peeled off to engage the Coalition vessels and draw fire. Under his breath, Elias counted the seconds. 3, 2, 1, now. Kaelara threw a single command toward the engines. A pulse of power surged through the ship, boosting their speed beyond any human design. The asteroid field loomed ahead, sharp rocks tumbling in silence. Elias gripped the armrest. "Trust yourself," he whispered. "Just enough to get us through." Kaelara closed her eyes. She reached deeper inside herself, drawing upon the ancient power she long believed she would never control. A soft glow enveloped the ship. The engines roared. They slipped between the asteroids like a shadow, leaving the pursuing ships behind. Confused, frustrated, once clear of danger, the ship glided into a quiet zone. The human fighters returned to escort them. Elias exhaled a breath he didn't know he held. "You did perfectly," he said, turning to Kaelara. She looked at the viewports, where stars sparkled like distant fires. That was not my true power, she admitted in his mind. If I had tried, I could have destroyed them all. Elias gave her a gentle smile. And you didn't because you chose not to. Her eyes met his, full of something raw and new. Why did you not stop me? Because I saw who you are, he answered. Not a weapon, but a being who can decide her own fate. For the next few days, they traveled together through neutral space. Elias introduced Kalara to human customs, sharing simple meals of bread and fruit, laughing at stories of clumsy first flights to Mars. She asked questions about families, about sunsets, about music. Each answer made her glow brighter, as if hope itself were waking in her heart. At night, they walked upon the ship's observation deck. Stars wheeled overhead, and the Milky Way stretched like a pale river across the sky. Kylara reached out to touch one bright point of light. All those worlds, she whispered, and yet I have known only war. Elias placed his hand over hers. You will know peace now. We'll help you find a home. He paused. But I need something from you too. She turned to look at him. Name the price, human. He thought of every warrior who had died to build this fragile peace. Promise me you will not use your full power unless it is truly the last choice. Kylara closed her eyes. Her chest rose and fell with her sigh. I promise, she said. I will not be the destroyer they once made me to be. Their pact sealed, they heard an alarm from the ship's control deck. A message streamed in from Human Command. Coalition High Council demands Kylara's immediate surrender or they will declare war on humanity. Elias frowned. They threaten us for protecting you. Kylara studied the message, her glowing eyes dimming. Let them come, she said softly. They will see they have no enemy here. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. We stand together. If they attack, we defend. But first, we try reason. We show them who you have become. A new resolve filled Kylara's mind. The weight of centuries lifted slightly from her shoulders. She had left the ruins alone and afraid. Now she was not alone. And for the first time she felt something stronger than power or fear. She felt belonging. As the scout ship changed course for the Coalition's edge, Elias and Kylara prepared to show the galaxy a different future, one built not on terror, but on trust. Together, they would face whatever came next. Elias and Kylara drifted through the void of space aboard the scout ship Starlight, watching distant suns pass like bright dots in a dark sea. Every day brought fresh messages from the coalition of unified worlds, stern warnings, demands for Kylara's surrender, and threats of military action if she did not comply. Each message carried the same chilling tone: treat her as a weapon and act swiftly. Elias read them in silence, then set the final one aside without comment. Back on Earth, news of Kylara's existence spread like wildfire. Holographic screens in bustling city centers showed her graceful form against ruined halls. Street markets and residential blocks buzzed with debate. Some citizens feared the living weapon, remembering old wars and the terror she might unleash. Others felt a stirring of compassion. They saw her not as a tool of destruction, but as a being alone in the galaxy. Murmurs of, "Let her live," rose in crowded squares. The United Earth Alliance convened an emergency session in the council chamber, a grand domed hall where the planet's leaders gathered. Counselors in simple robes sat behind curved desks, under a glowing dome. The head speaker, Ambassador Renata Cho, spoke with calm authority. We face a choice, she said. Do we join the coalition in condemning Kylara, or do we recognize her as a sentient life with rights? Her voice echoed in the vaulted room. Many counselors exchanged uneasy looks. The old fear of unimaginable power warred with a new hope for compassion. Outside the council chamber, reporters and citizens packed the streets. Hollow boards flashed headlines: living weapon or new life. Earth stands at a crossroads. Children asked their parents what they would do if they were in Kylara's place. Shopkeepers paused while serving customers to watch the latest debate. Everywhere the question hung in the air. Could humanity act with kindness toward a being born as a weapon? Finally, Ambassador Cho rose to speak again, her voice carrying across every communicator in the system. Kalara has proven restraint where others would not. She answered peace with peace. I stand before you to say, we will not surrender her to fear. The chamber fell silent. Some gasped, others cheered. Then she added, I call upon every civilized species to judge her by her actions, not by her origins. If she harms none, we can harm none in return. Across the galaxy, those words rippled like a stone cast into calm water. On coalition worlds, diplomats paused in their verdicts. On fringe planets, rebels and traitors discussed the possibility of siding with humanity. Even some coalition counselors sent private messages asking for more time to study Kailara's behavior. Elias watched the messages arrive on his ship's console. For the first time, he saw cracks in the wall of fear that had grown around her. In the quiet of the Starlight's observation deck, Kailara stood beside Elias, the pale glow of distant stars lighting her silver skin. She listened to Ambassador Cho's speech, her golden eyes wide with wonder. They speak for me, she thought, her mind barely able to hold so much emotion. A single tear traced a bright path down her cheek. Human, she sent to Elias silently. How did you give them courage? Elias placed his hand over hers. You gave them hope, he replied simply. All I did was remind them that every life matters. Kalara closed her eyes and let the tears fall. For the first time in centuries, she felt seen, as if the weight of solitude and fear were lifting from her shoulders. Word of Earth's decision spread quickly through the human alliance of planets. Small contingents of human ships detached from the starlight to form a protective screen around her. Elias's old comrades, pilots he had trained, engineers he had worked with, came forward to offer their loyalty. They vowed to shield Kailara from harm. Together they charted a course for neutral space where they could seek a permanent home for her far from the Coalition's prison ships. Yet even as humanity rallied, the threat remained. A hardened faction within the Coalition vowed to override Earth's protection. They prepared a fleet of enforcement vessels, loaded with containment fields and stasis chambers. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see if fear would prevail or if the new light of compassion would guide their actions. In the calm before the storm, Elias and Kalara shared a quiet moment on the bridge. The hum of the engines and the soft blink of status lights were a lullaby of safety. Kalara turned to Elias, her voice a whisper in his mind. I have lived centuries in darkness. Now I see stars and kindness. I wish I could thank them all. He smiled and touched her hand. You already have, he said. No one forgets the first time they choose peace over fear. As the starlight prepared to jump to their next destination, Elias and Kailara stood together against the viewport, watching distant constellations drift past. Somewhere out there, allies and enemies alike were choosing their paths. And in that choice lay the future of a new chapter for Kailara, and for humanity itself. Elias Monroe sat at the helm of the Starlight, eyes fixed on the holo display showing distant hyperspace corridors. The soft hum of the ship's engines was a comfort after days of tense negotiations. Kailara stood behind him, her tall form framed by the pale glow of distant stars. Together they had faced fear and found hope. Yet peace was never safe in the galaxy. Suddenly, an alarm pierced the calm. A red warning light blinked on the console. Elias frowned and tapped a command. A message scrolled into view. Leviathan. Protocol reactivated. Target. Kailara. Initiate system purge. His heart sank. The doomsday weapon designed to annihilate Kailara had come back online. Long ago, the ruins of Vyros 4 had birthed the Leviathan Protocol, an ancient moon-sized installation powered by an AI core. It held enough energy to wipe out an entire star system. Coalition engineering teams had feared Kailara so much that they entrusted the protocol with her final destruction. After her escape, The device had gone dormant. Now, a rogue faction within. The coalition had seized control of it and flipped the switch. Kalara's eyes flared with pain. She pressed her hand to her chest, where pale bioluminescence pulsed with her heartbeat. They would end me, and you, she sent to Elias in her mind. Let me go. Spare you this danger. Elias stood and faced her. He saw the conflict in her golden eyes, guilt mixed with fierce resolve. No, he said firmly. You saved lives when you had every reason not to. I won't let them force you to die alone. He placed a steady hand on her arm. We will stop the protocol. Together. Kailara's shoulders sagged, but she nodded. Her glow steadied as she drew on Elias's courage. He set a course for the coordinates embedded in the warning message. The protocol orbiting station lay hidden in the shadow of a gas giant, its jagged hull masked by swirling clouds of green and purple. A small strike team formed. Elias, Kailara, Lieutenant Mara Lin, and 2 seasoned engineers from the United Earth Alliance. They transferred into a stealth shuttle, its black surface designed to evade enemy scanners. Outside, the gas giant loomed like an emerald leviathan beneath them. The shuttle slipped through the planet's rings, weaving between glittering ice and rock. Stay close, Elias whispered, as they approached the station docking bay. We only get one chance. He keyed the comms. Starlight, hold position. We'll call if we need extraction. The bay door opened with a deafening hiss. Inside, the air was stale and cold. Flickering lights revealed metal walls scarred by age and neglect. Warning signs in the Viros language glowed dimly, warning of high radiation and automated defenses. Kalara's bioluminescence pulsed softly, illuminating the corridor ahead. Lieutenant Lin led the way, her pistol at the ready. The engineers carried portable power disruptors. Elias and Kalara walked side by side, silent and alert. Every footstep echoed in the hollow chamber, like distant thunder. They reached the central corridor leading to the AI core. A wall-sized viewport showed the reactor chamber beyond, a glowing orb of tangled cables and metal, harnessing unimaginable energy. Dozens of laser turrets lined the walls, their red beams scanning slowly. Elias tapped his comm. Power team, deploy disruptors on those turrets. Kalara, when I give the signal, create a shield around us. His plan depended on her restraint, enough power to block the lasers but not enough to trigger the core's security response. The engineers sprinted forward and attached the disruptors. Lights on their devices blinked green. Lin crouched behind, a support beam. Elias turned to Kalara. Now. She closed her eyes, her form glowing brighter. A dome of translucent energy blossomed around the group, short-circuiting the turrets as they opened fire. Beams of light struck the dome and fizzled out. Sparks danced across its surface, but it held firm. The engineers pounded the disruptor's panels. With a soft hum, the turrets powered down. Lin signaled clear, and Elias led them into the reactor chamber. The AI core pulsed like a living heart, tendrils of light coiling through metal struts. He placed a hand on the smooth metal console at the chamber's edge. Let's shut you down. With practiced fingers, he entered override codes gleaned from coalition schematics. The core's pulsation slowed. Warning klaxons wailed. Security lockdown, announced a mechanical voice. Metal shutters began to slide across the entryway. Lin shouted, "Hurry!" Elias typed faster. The pulse slowed further. Kalara felt the energy drain from her chest as the core's link to her unique signature weakened. She watched Elias's fingers dance over the keys, her confidence in him steadying her resolve. Override complete, Elias announced. The core stilled, its glow dim. The threat of a system purge lifted. Outside, the bay doors opened, summoned by the failsafe. But before they could leave, the rogue faction's patrol shuttles appeared at the viewport. 5 sleek vessels blocked by the shattered turrets. Rebels armed with stasis rifles rushed in. Lin stood firm. Elias raised his voice. Kalara, cover us. Kalara obeyed, focusing on the intruders. Instead of unleashing raw power, she projected a soft wave of energy that knocked the weapons out of their hands without harm. Rebels froze, stunned but unharmed. Elias nodded to Lynn. No more violence. He motioned the rebels to leave, and they stumbled back, their ships already opening hatches. Within minutes, the rebels withdrew. The bay doors closed behind them. The team regrouped, breathing hard but unharmed. Elias placed an arm around Kailara's shoulder. "You did it," he said softly. "Perfect restraint." Kailara looked up at him, relief flooding her senses. "I held back," she thought, "because I chose to." They gathered their equipment and returned to the stealth shuttle. As the engines engaged, the station's lights dimmed to standby. Kailara watched it shrink beneath them, no longer a weapon pointed at her heart, but a silent monument to a dangerous past. Back aboard the Starlight, Elias informed command that the Leviathan protocol was offline. Cheers erupted through the comm channels. Kailara stood beside him, her glow soft and proud. For the first time, she believed she could shape her own destiny, a future not of fear but of choice. And with Elias by her side, she knew the galaxy would see her not as a monster, but as something far more powerful. A friend. The neutral system of Duskreach lay before them like a pale jewel set in black velvet. Twisting rings of ice and dust circled its lone planet, and above its equator floated the ancient orbital platform known as the Accord Station. Here, the Coalition High Council had agreed to a final parley. If Elias and Kailara could reach the station alive. Captain Elias Monroe watched the holographic display aboard the Starlight. A coalition fleet, nearly 50 vessels strong, dropped out of hyperspace on the far side of Duskreach's rings. Their sleek hulls glinted ominously. Behind him, Kailara stood tall, her silver form lit by soft starshine. "They mean to stop us," Elias said, voice steady. Kailara's eyes glowed gold. "They will fire the moment we cross their path." Elias nodded. "Then we give them a reason not to." He tapped his comm. "All human ships form up. Shield the Starlight. We move as one." Outside, small human frigates peeled off from the cargo convoy and fell into formation around the Starlight. Fighters streaked between them, weaving defensive fields. Elias felt a surge of pride. Humanity had answered his call. The coalition fleet accelerated toward them, weapons hot. Laser arrays hummed to life. Elias set course for the station's outer docking ring. As they drew nearer, the first volleys of light sliced through space. The human ships responded in kind, their shields flashing bright green. Kailara stepped forward beside Elias, her hand brushing the console. "Allow me," she thought. Elias gave a quick nod. Just enough to protect, not destroy. Kailara closed, her eyes. A dome of pale energy blossomed around the formation, growing until every human vessel shone with her light. Coalition fire slammed into the shields, but the energy dissipated against Kailara's barrier. Not one ship was harmed. On the Starlight's deck, human pilots cheered. Elias inhaled deeply. "They see your power," he said to Kailara, "but they still fear what they do not understand." Above the battle, the Accord Station's command called on all CR. Aft to cease fire or be declared enemies of neutral space. The Coalition flagship, the Imperator 9, obeyed, momentarily. Its captain, Admiral Sereth, opened a hailing channel directly to the Starlight. Captain Monroe, Sereth's voice, crackled, cold and controlled. "You bring your living weapon to kill us. Lower your shields and surrender, Kailara, or we destroy you." Elias leaned forward. "Admiral Sereth, Kailara is no weapon to be controlled. She stands with peace, not conquest. Let us dock. Let us talk." There was a long pause. On the Starlight, Kailara watched the distant black ship through the viewport. They will not listen, she thought. Elias glanced at her. "Trust me." He activated a feed to broadcast to every coalition ship in the system. His image appeared on their hollow screens, a human face lined with years of hope and frustration. People of the Coalition, he began, you built your world on honor and unity. Kaylara was created in fear, but she chose mercy. Watch. He stepped aside and the camera shifted to show Kaylara drifting in the void beside the starlight, her palms open. Suddenly, a small human transport, lost and adrift, drifted past the battle. Its engines had failed, and it was on course to smash into a Coalition corvette. In an instant, Kaylara reached out. A wave of shimmering energy rippled from her hands. The transport slowed, turned, and gently landed on the ring of Accord Station. Not a scratch was on its hull. Silence fell across every Coalition bridge. No one fired again. Elias continued. She saved those lives without harm. If you destroy her, you destroy a chance at peace. Admiral Sareth studied the feed, his stern face softening just a little. Then he spoke. This is unexpected. Elias held his breath. Very well, Captain Monroe, Sareth said finally. Lower your shields. We will permit docking. But understand this. Any hostile act, and we will not stop again. Elias exhaled and turned to Kaylara. You heard him. Kaylara nodded. She let her energy field fade gently. The human ships relaxed their formation and the fighters veered aside. The starlight edged forward and aligned with the docking port. Magnetic clamps clicked. Hatches opened. Elias and Kaylara walked together onto the ramp that led to Accord, Station's council chamber. Their human escorts fell in behind them. Coalition officers and council delegates awaited, their faces a mask of suspicion. Ambassador Renata Cho rose from her seat and bowed slightly. Welcome to Accord Station, she said. Let us finally speak. Elias offered Kaylara's hand to the ambassador. She comes in peace. Kaylara inclined her head. I ask only for a home, she projected, and a chance to prove I am more than fear. The council whispered among themselves. Some eyed her with wonder, others with old dread. Then Admiral Sareth stood. I have seen her mercy, he said. She is no weapon, but a being with choice. The Coalition withdraws its charges. A round of astonished murmurs swept through the chamber. Kaylara's golden eyes filled with warmth. Elias squeezed her hand. The Treaty of Duskreach was signed that day, granting Kaylara asylum among the stars. Humanity stood as her shield, and the Coalition accepted her as an ally. The galaxy had witnessed a new kind of victory, not of force, but of understanding. As Elias and Kaylara left the chamber, the pale rings of Duskreach gleamed in the viewport. They had faced the final stand, and won a future built on trust, not fear. The newly christened vessel Nova Dawn drifted at anchor above the world of Aurelis, a peaceful planet chosen as Kaylara's new home. Flags of humanity and the Coalition fluttered together in low gravity, marking a rare moment of unity. Elias Monroe stood at the viewport of his quarters, watching the planet's soft blue glow. Beside him, Kaylara looked out with quiet wonder, her silver form reflecting the gentle light. She turned to him, voice gentle in his mind. This place is beautiful. The word felt unfamiliar on her tongue, as if she had only just learned it. Elias gave a soft smile. You deserve beauty after all you have seen. He placed his hand on the transparent glass. Welcome home. On the planet's surface, humans and Coalition diplomats worked side by side to prepare a simple ceremony. Children laughed among flower beds, curious about the alien guardian who stood so tall and so kindly among them. Traders offered gifts of fruit and woven silks. No heavy armor marked the greeting party, only bright fabrics and open hands. Elias and Kaylara walked the landing ramp together. Citizens bowed respectfully, and Kaylara inclined her head in return. She had come to expect fear or awe. Instead, she felt warmth, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Ambassador Renata Cho stepped forward, holding a scroll of welcoming words. Kaylara, she began, voice steady, by the grace of both humanity and the Coalition, We offer you refuge. Here you will be free to live, to learn, and to grow. Kalara's golden eyes glistened. She hesitated, recalling centuries of silence and conflict. Then she spoke aloud for the first time in 100 years, her voice soft but clear. I accept your gift. I will live in peace. A gentle cheer rose from the gathered crowd. Birds, brought as part of the planet's wildlife program, soared overhead, their wings catching the sunlight. Kalara closed her eyes, tears tracing bright lines down her cheeks. After the ceremony, Elias led Kalara through winding paths lined with alien flowers. They stopped by a small pond, where fish with glassy scales darted below the surface. Kalara knelt beside the water and dipped her fingers in. Ripples spread outward, catching specks of light. I have never felt so alive, she whispered in his mind. All my life I was made for destruction. Now I watch life grow. Elias sat beside her on a smooth stone. Your choice changed everything, he said. Not just for you, but for every world that feared your power. You showed them compassion. Kalara gazed at him, gratitude shining in her eyes. You saved me, human. Not with weapons, but with words. As dusk fell, they climbed a gentle hill overlooking the settlement. The twin moons of Aurelius rose side by side, casting pale light across the valley. Lanterns glowed in the homes below, and smoke curled from small hearths. Elias wrapped a simple cloak around Kalara's shoulders. It can get cold at night, he said. She smiled, a gesture both alien and human. Thank you. Then she asked, softly, do you still see me as beautiful? He looked at her in the moonlight. You carried galaxies in your heart and did not let them burn. That is beautiful. His voice was quiet but certain. Under the moons, Kalara closed her eyes. Memories of wars and ruins flickered like distant storms, but they no longer held her. Instead, she felt peace settle in her chest like a gentle star. The moon's light touched her silver skin, and she felt something new, a sense of belonging. Elias placed his hand in hers. Tomorrow I'll show you the gardens, he promised, the ones that bloom only at sunrise. Her eyes opened, shining. I look forward to it, she thought. Many things to learn. He nodded. We'll learn together. When morning came, a soft breeze carried the scent of flowers through the settlement. Kalara stepped into the gardens where petals glowed in pastel hues. Birds sang among the branches, and dew sparkled like jewels on the grass. She closed her eyes and drew in a deep breath of fresh air. In that moment, she knew she had truly begun her new life. No longer a weapon of war, no longer alone. Here, she was simply Kalara, first light, guiding those around her toward hope. Elias watched her from the garden's edge, pride and joy in his heart. He took her hand and led her into the maze of blooms. Together they walked under the gentle sun, toward a future written in peace. And so, under Aurelius's twin moons and bright morning sun, Kalara's story ended not in fear or destruction, but in beauty and belonging. The galaxy would remember her not as the monster of Virosor, but as the guardian who chose kindness, and as the human who first called her beautiful.